Hello there. Welcome to your program Security Watch Africa on the Africa Independent Television. On this program and on this channel, we give you that information you need to keep your life safe and secured. Welcome to the program. Today, my name still remains Patrick Abambo. Just like we do every week, we'll bring that information to you. Today, will be, in fact, the past 2 weeks, we have featured the part of the Nigerian Armed Forces, the Nigerian Air Force and the Defense Headquarters. Today, we'll be looking at restructuring, actually. We talk about restructuring, not political restructuring like most people may think about, but restructuring for the effective performance of the security sector. So today I have a very knowledgeable guest in the studio who will be helping us to look at what way should we go, how can we reorganize the security architecture of the country, Nigeria. We'll be looking at that issue with him. We'll go quickly to the topic of today, which is very, very, very important if we must have a secured environment. And without security, there can't be any development. And that is why we need to look at analyzing Nigeria's security architecture. And with me here in the studio already is Sir Chikwe Udensi, who is a security intelligence expert and a consultant with the Nigerian Police Force. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio, sir.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
Yes. You see, like I said at the beginning, without security, no development. And over the years, we have had a kind of insecure situation in the country which has hampered development. What is wrong with Nigeria's security?
A whole lot. A million things are wrong. I'm very happy that we have a new government that has come in. I hope this will be a listening government, because the previous government, when you talk, it appears you are talking to deaf people. Sorry I had to use that kind of language, but they have not been listening. Security, like you said, that's where everything revolves on. You can't have any decent, meaningful activity, even economic activity, without security. So now we have a very big problem in the country with the architecture, the concept of our operational activities when it has to do with all the security agencies and stakeholders in the country. Let me give you a clear example of what I mean, Patrick. Today, the principal agency that is responsible for internal security in the country is the Nigerian Police Force. There are so many other agencies, don't get me wrong. If you
Of course, they are the lead agency.
They are not the lead agency in practical terms.
Yeah, but
that's where it ought to be.
Yes.
They ought to be the lead agency.
Yes.
We also have the EFCC. It's also a security agency with anti-fraud. And we also have the customs, we have the immigration, we have the civil defense, and other agencies. Patrick, the police is responsible to the Ministry of Police Affairs. Customs is responsible to the Ministry of Finance. Okay. Immigration, Interior. And then, where do we have the meeting point? You know what happened in 2011 when we had the 9/11 problem. There was chaos, total chaos in the system.
The United States of America, yes.
The whole world came together and said, listen, if we have such a crisis, there ought to be a synergy among the security agencies. And they developed what they call the SECOMS, Central Communication Systems, where every agency is talking to each other. We don't have that in our country.
And gave birth to the Homeland Security.
We don't have that in our country.
Okay.
Police is doing its own thing, has its systems. Customs cannot get into police systems. So if they're investigating any crime in police or a crime in the EFCC or maybe in ICPC and they want to make reference to any of the agencies, they cannot do that seamlessly. That is a major problem. So everybody's acting at their own. If there is no synergy in the activities of the agencies, the architecture is faulty.
What's supposed to be the responsibility of the Office of the National Security Advisor?
Well, it ought to be a coordinating agency, the NSA's office. I'm happy today we have Nuhu there. know who has capacity to do a whole lot of things. So we are comfortable with him. When the issue was looking for somebody else, people mentioned a general in the army. No, we're talking about somebody who has capacity to create change. No, who does have that capacity to do that. I hope he will. Because we now would need to have a fusion arrangement. There should be a fusion center where every agency is talking to each other. If it is not happening, we will still have a chaotic situation like we have right now. If you take maybe the Nigerian police force being the primary agency and you say, what is the architecture in the police? It's also faulty. I can give you a clear example of what I mean. The police has 6 departments from A to F. Every officer in the police is not a professional. They can work anywhere. They can be sent anywhere.
General purpose.
General duties officers. That's what we have. So today he's in A department. The next day he's in B department. The next day he's in F department. It does not work. Today's technology insists, today's ideas in security determines that we must have to have professionals in the areas. I must tell you something that got us embarrassed sometime when, I think it was 3 years ago, we were in Johannesburg for a security meeting, went with some policemen. During the introduction, about 4 police officers from Nigeria came with us. During the introduction started with the South African police. The first young man that stood up says, I'm a 24 years specialist in homicide. The other one says, I'm a veteran, 30 years veteran in this area. When it was time for our people to introduce themselves, it was a disappointment. Nobody was a professional. So even when they leave office, or what do you hire them as? They want to work in private sector. What is his profession? Where has he specialized in? So that is a structural problem we have in the Nigerian police force. Very big structural problem. And we have said over and over, there's a need for us to have specialists. In 2015, I had the first forensic training in the Nigerian police force. From every state command, we had one person coming from zonal commands and from area commands. Training on forensic sciences. We wanted to make sure that we have a very sizable forensic lab. Yeah. In fact, Okiro was very particular about that. He came to Lagos and opened the first forensic lab. I established it at the force headquarters, the annex in Alagbon. 3 months after that training, not one single officer remained in forensic. Some were roadblocks, some were in the departments. That will not help us. It's a structural problem. We must have to make sure that the Nigerian police force is professionally structured in such a way that you are a professional in an area. That is what today's security architecture should look like. And that's the demands of today's security performances that it ought to be. But we don't have that in the police. So that's where the problem is. And also, if you go down a little bit, go away from the center and go to the divisional police offices. That is where over 90% of the police work is done. Divisional police offices. What is the structure there? I also give you an example of what happened. We were in same South Africa. It was a conference we were in. And we took our time to go to some of their divisional offices. In fact, they called theirs, the DPO there, the divisional police officer is called station commander. As I was about to start, we started introduction. And we had the first commander, the station commander 1, station commander 2, station commander 3. These were the 3 shifts. Each of the shift has a commander. In Nigeria, we have 1 divisional police officer, the DPO, 1 person. Crime happens 24 hours of the day. 1 person cannot do it. You and I know, Patrick, that after 8 hours. Your productivity goes down. We have over this time told Nigerian police force there's a need for us to have in every divisional police. At least even if you want to start with morning shift, night shift. No one single divisional police officer can run the division. It's not possible. It's a structural problem. So we must have to have 3 divisional police officers, if you ask me. Some people say, after all, we have the divisional crime officer. He's not a DPO. Even the divisional traffic officer, DTO, it's not a DPO. The DPO has a specific role. He's in charge. And if he is to be in charge, his deputies in the DTO cannot do the job. So we must have to have this. These are some structural problems we must have to make sure we handle first and foremost before we even thinking about increasing the number of policemen, no. If the structure is bad, you know what architects they do if you're designing a home, designing a house. The architect is the one who does the design. It is whatever he designed that is being followed. If the architecture is bad, then it's a problem. We are saying that the security architecture in the country today is not the way it ought to be. It is substandard. Okay. It is not meeting international best practices. Okay. And where it is not meeting them, we should readjust them. We have even insisted that if we're not going to put everything in the right perspective, let us create a fusion center for the security agencies. There should be a fusion center where they can be talking to each other for effective security.
Yeah, I know that later, just before 2020, there was a move to review the Police Act, and so many presentations were made. I don't know whether you had opportunity to make this presentation before it was adopted.
Oh, no, I did.
Today we have a new Police Act which does not incorporate what you're saying. What move was made?
One area that was incorporated, yes, which we are still happy, is giving the Inspector General of Police a tenure. Today, the Police Act has been amended. The Inspector General of Police has a tenure. But the joy we ought to be celebrating from that act was killed by the provisions of a bigger law, the Constitution, that says when you're 60 years or you attain 35 years in service.
Yeah, because there are people who say
it's a lacuna.
Police is a regiment. Today, police we have is a regimental organization. So there's also a lacuna there. What happens?
But let me give you information. Let us be very practical.
Yes.
Let us follow the world, what the world is doing. You see, if we keep doing the wrong thing and expecting to get great results, we are being, like people say, that's a proper definition of madness. Let us do the right thing. From after Kumasi till now, we have had more than 10 Inspector Generals of Police. Kumasi, 1999. Up till this time, we have more had, if I can count properly, very close to 12 police IGPs. So they have had less than 2 years on the average. Somebody who has put in 35 years in service, or put in 33 years in service, and he has only 2 years, he should be talking about the business of retirement, other than the business of going to improve the services of the agency he's running. If we do not give the Inspector General of Police 4 clear good years, at the first instance, not even at totality, at the first instance, so that he can prepare and plan the policies and the practicality of ensuring that his policies work. If we don't do that, my dear, we can't get anywhere. 1.5 years, 2 years, that is the average we have had for the IGPs. They cannot plan with 1.5 years. They cannot execute anything
so
with 1.5 years.
So how do you think an IG can be gotten if that is the situation now? Because, for instance, if he has to serve 35 years, and by the time he's 30 years, from what you're saying, 30 years in service, he should be at least be appointed, or 31 years, so that he'll be able to, before 35, he should have made this
Well, look at the IGPs that are retiring.
Yes.
They are still very young men, very capable.
So you're talking about extending the retirement age?
No, not extending it, having a tenure. Let them have a tenure. Whether he has turned 60 or not, okay, if he has a tenure, he should complete his tenure, so that he can plan and execute his policies. And if
there are arguments about what are the other people that are following him up. at 35 years, should they also retire, even though they are junior, and they didn't have the opportunity to climb to the position?
Well, the law are not made for individuals, no. Laws are made for structures and systems.
Okay.
We are saying that for the system to work,
Okay.
let us have the tenured Inspector General of Police.
Okay.
Anybody coming behind, if you don't become an IGP, good luck. Get into something else. If for our system to work, let us have a structured system where the IGP is tenured, the office is tenured, so that he can plan. I say, for these 4 years, I have a program. Look at what we have today. Every IG that comes has a different program altogether. And there's no continuity. He leaves the job of what the other man did previously and start his own.
And you think the tenureship can solve that?
Oh, of course, with 4 years, he can effectively create a policy, achieve it.
And the next person may continue?
Well, we encourage continuity.
Okay.
Government has always remained a continuum.
It's a continuum.
We should encourage continuity. But what I'm saying, whether it exists or not,
okay,
let us have an IG that has a tenure, that can put policies together and achieve those policies within the period of his service. Because if he leaves, nobody's sure what happens.
When can we start this?
The only way it can start is if we amend what is in the Constitution. The Constitution is a superior law to the Act. The Act says that for the General Police should have a tenure. We understand that. We have achieved that. But the Constitution has to be amended. We are pursuing that. We have set up private individuals bill to see how we can amend that area of the Constitution to give the General Police a consistent one. If they are talking about 4 years, what about minimum 6 years? Let the IGP has a minimum of 6 years so that we can have some level of stability in the internal security of the arrangement of the country.
Yeah, unfortunately, my director is giving me a sign that time is running up. Really, there's so many things to be discussed. But looking at generally, like, I don't know, the way it is now, there are so many things that faces this, not just the police, the whole security architecture. We're talking about coordination. We're talking about the foundation of the police and all that. The recruitment or the enlistment, the training at the academy now is a degree awarding academy. Could that be time where this professionalization you're talking about could start?
Well, it can start now. We don't have to wait for it to start tomorrow. We can start it today. But let me tell you very importantly what we have suggested. We made several proposals to the committee that was amending the Police Act. But those things were not taken. Let me give you an example. Today's academic positioning in the country makes it very clear that the minimum we should take, a minimum entrance into the Nigerian Police Force, should be a first degree. First degree. If we don't do that, we shall be ending up having people whose job will be guard duties.
Okay.
We should talk about intelligence in policing and not guard duties.
Sir Chikwe Udensi, we're going to continue this discussion because we have been asked to leave the studio now for that program to continue. It's actually a pleasure having you in the studio today.
Thank you. I'm glad.
And very soon we should be doing this, at least a part 2, to be able to exhaust this topic.
Look forward to that.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having
yes,
me.
Viewers, if you have watched us, we want to do this again next week. But before then, you can follow us on all our social media platforms. This can be watched on our YouTube channel and other previous editions. You can see it there. Until next week, I say bye for now.